Today over on Capitol Hill and in the courts, writes Stephen Lee Myers and Shira Frankel for the New York Times. Republican lawmakers mounting a sweeping legal campaign against universities, think tanks, and even private corporations that study the spread of disinformation. Now, let me ask you, who would want to stop anybody who studies how disinformation is created and spread? The only people I can think of who would want to stop scientific analysis and understanding of disinformation are the people promoting it. And surprise, surprise, this is institutional across the Republican Party. They go on to note the effort has encumbered its targets with expensive requests for information and in some cases even subpoenas demanding notes, emails, and other information related to social media companies and the government dating back to 2015. Can you imagine getting a subpoena, a court order, demanding that you turn over all of your correspondence going all the way back to 2015 that has anything to do with, say, Donald Trump and the 2020 election, and or Donald Trump and Russia, or whatever it may be, whatever disinformation that they happen to be trying to put the kibosh on you revealing. As Myers and Frankel note in the New York Times, this has already affected the group's ability to do research and to raise money. They note many of those behind the Republican effort had also joined former President Donald J. Trump in falsely challenging the outcome of the 2020 election. Well, gee, what a surprise. Jim Jordan runs the House Judiciary Committee, and the House Judiciary Committee is the one that's actually issuing subpoenas and threatening, if you don't answer this subpoena in a timely fashion, we're going to throw your butt in jail. Another group is a conservative advocacy group led by Stephen Miller, the racist who used to work for Donald Trump. They filed a class action lawsuit last month in the U.S. District Court in Louisiana. I should say alleged racist. Targets include Stanford, Clemson, and New York universities, the University of Washington, the Atlantic Council, the German Marshall Fund, the National Conference on Citizenship. All of these are nonpartisan groups. But God forbid they should look at who's lying and who is telling the truth. They went after the Wikimedia Foundation that owns Wikipedia. They went after Graphica, a company that researches disinformation online. The committee's chairman, I'm reading from the New York Times, Representative Jim Jordan, a close ally of Mr. Trump, has accused the organizations of, quote, censorship of disfavored speech, end quote, involving issues that have galvanized the Republican Party, the policies around the COVID-19 pandemic, and the integrity of the American political system in the 2020 election. How low do these guys go? I guess, there is no bottom. There really isn't. People, at least 200,000 and maybe as many as 500,000 Americans died unnecessarily because of disinformation and lies about COVID-19, about masks, about vaccines. They're still dying. And yet, the Republican Party wants to stop any research into how those kinds of lies spread. Our political system is in crisis, and our country was almost overthrown. If it hadn't been for 5 Republicans standing up to Donald Trump, he would today be the dictator of the United States, and we would more closely resemble Putin's Russia than we would France or Germany. And Jim Jordan and the Republicans want to make sure that whoever reveals the information about how those lies that led to January 6th, how those lies that led to the death of 5 people on that day and 3 police officers subsequently, how those lies that led to the near overthrow of our form of government and still threaten our form of government, how those lies get spread, those researchers, Jim Jordan and Republicans, want to shut them down and shut them up. And how does that advance democracy? It doesn't. This is pure fascism. Absolute attempt to stop democracy because democracy requires honest information to have well-informed voters making well-informed choices. And the Republican Party understands that if the voters know what's really going on with the GOP, that they're really just for the billionaires and billionaires like Donald Trump, for grifters and professional politicians who make their money as grifters, and for giant corporations. That's it. Those are the only groups that the Republican Party represents the interests of. Now, yes, they will make it hard for women to get abortions, to suck up to Catholics and abortion fanatic Protestants. They will trash gays, the entire queer community. They will go after people who are not gender conforming in order to get the bigot vote. They will gerrymander and do everything they can to suppress the vote of black and Hispanic people and Asian people, because those are the things that are necessary to seize and control power. But those are not the groups whose interests they really care about. The groups that they really care, I mean, look at the legislation they pass. The groups they really care about are the wealthy and the corporate and the polluters. The people who will give them money. Because money and power is what this all boils down to. And of course, their whole, white supremacist, male-dominated, hierarchical shtick